Good morning, everybody. I saw a Facebook post this morning, and it was in my head whilst I was walking through these woods on one of my morning walks. And it was by a quote by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I'm sure that's not how you spell it, because she was Swiss-American. What's the U with the umlaut? I'm sure people will tell me. The squirrels! Can you see the squirrels? Hello. Hello, you. Can you see that one? Hey, what are you doing? Photo bombing? They might go a bit crazy. They're everywhere. The squirrels are everywhere. We used to have red squirrels in England, but I've always known grey squirrels since I was young. The grey squirrels came over via Canada, and the grey squirrels killed off with disease all the red squirrels. We've only got a few red squirrels left, and they're in islands off the coast, and I'm sure there might be some in England that are extraordinarily protected somehow in some woods. I'm not sure how they're able to do that, but these little cute little red squirrels that sort of are indigenous to our lands, but now we have these grey Canadian squirrels that are literally everywhere, and that's what we know now as the common squirrel. Okay, so I saw a post by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and it was that all people that are beautiful don't just happen. They are made through the defeats, through the suffering, through the hardship, and it's totally true. She was an amazing, very spiritually minded psychiatrist, and I love her model, the 5 stages of death and dying, and it's not just for people who are dying. It's the death of everything. You know, I lost my favourite coat at the airport recently, and I went through the 5 stages of the death of Daniel's coat. It was just like, I made another video on this in the spring, and it was, you go through denial. It's like, I haven't lost my coat. Well, it's around here somewhere. Come on, where is it? And I think I'd left it in the toilet, or just where you put all your liquids down. I must have just put it down. I'd only had 4.5 hours sleep, and I was just about to catch a flight. And so then you go through denial, then you go through anger, that how could that happen, and then you go through bargaining of sort of like, can I resolve this, can I go back, can I go through whatever they call it, security checks, and I didn't have enough time. And then you go through depression and then you go to peace, and it's like, yep, lost that coat. It was an amazing coat. I loved it. I felt like totally different in it. And it's gone, and I do feel that sort of sense of peace now. We can find another one, and it wasn't the monetary value of it, because it was only £30, but it was it's like when you find something and it's, I really like this, whatever it is, and then it's gone. And this can happen with relationships, this can happen with our health, this can happen with sort of some part of our state of mind, and we have to keep letting go with all these things, and letting go and learning all of the time. And each time we are gifted a new awareness, there's something that enables us to help us to move forward, and to know that we are on a path. I mean, I think Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was extraordinarily spiritual in her approach to treating clients and the observation of the human experience, and that is one that we can either grow or not grow. And I think that becomes very spiritual. Hey, yappy dog. Because you're surrendering to this thing called life, and whether people who are religious call that God, or Taoists would call it the Tao, Buddhists, I think, would just surrender to life, perhaps with a capital L. It's that there's some intelligence that's in all things. If I was ever going to have a tattoo, I'd made a note. I know what it meant in English, which was within all things there is God, or God is within all things, or something. And that doesn't, I'm not religious, I'm more spiritual than anything, and it's that life is within all things, and that's a life with a capital L, the vast intelligence. I think in really deeply understanding the Enneagram as I do now, and working with clients, I can work out somebody's Enneagram type within, sometimes in my room, within minutes. And that can enable me to really help someone, because you really know their personality and their values. You can connect with them, you can build rapport with them. It's like they feel you know them. But in understanding the Enneagram and looking at the sacred geometry of it, there are only 9 personality types. Some people come to me and say, I can't find my type, I must be the 10th type or something, I'm not a number. And it's like, no, we're not numbers. You have to look even deeper than that. There's some genius, there's something so magical and incredible, and people call that God, people call that Allah, people call that something else. I don't know. I don't even know. I think I call it life these days, and it's life with a capital L, but we could call it love, we could call it a oneness, source, all that is, the home office. It doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have to be and it doesn't really have to be religious, and it doesn't really have to be spiritual, because there's even ego in spirituality, sort of like, oh, I'm more spiritual than you, or that's a more spiritual act, I've done a more, even that's ego. It's just life with a capital L, or even if you want, just put it as a little L. But it's that surrender to life. There's a vast intelligence. I mean, I'm in this wood that has stood here for such a long time, and I think this lake is man-made because they used it for construction and things, milling and all different types of stuff. But there are trees on this land in England that have stood here for 1,000 years. There is a vast intelligence in all things, and if you can surrender to that intelligence, regardless of your situation, regardless of your condition, whether that's physical or psychological, emotional, mental, it then becomes transient. And there was a time when you couldn't walk and talk, and now look where you are. Now look where you are. So with whatever you're going through, that will pass too. Everything comes to pass. Everything always comes to pass. And that is good things. My coat came to pass very early, but also bad things too. And this is something that I call be with the non-being. There's a non-being that dwells within all of us. It just can't be. It's kind of restless, like a little dog yapping. But can you be with that non-being inside of you? And can you be with the non-being in the world? Because that non-being is created by a consciousness of others who are not being. So can you be despite there is a non-being inside of you? And I feel if you can experience that, practice that, fall into that, everything will become easier.